few weeks ago, I redid a pair of vintage headphones I found online. When I did that, I used a cable off a pair of earbuds that I had laying around. They work. They actually work better than I expected, but they don't have the finished look I was really wanting. So what I did was I went online and either AliExpress or eBay, I bought a new cable. You see this looks a lot better. I think it'll match the look of the headphones a little bit better. And then I also bought some strain relief. You know, you usually see these at the end of jacks or when they're coming out of the ear cups. It gives that finished look, and it keeps the cable from going 90 degrees and possibly breaking. So another thing I figured out after I started using them was that's hard plastic Bakelite, something that's not very forgiving. So after a little while using them, they get very uncomfortable. So I also bought some ear cups. I'm going to be redoing these. Like the last video, I'm just going to redo the one side, and then I'll put it all together. So I'm going to get started. Put all this out of the way. You can look at my last video if you want to see how I got to here, but I'm going to get to it. So, taking apart the ear cup. I don't have a whole lot of slack on this driver. I'm going to take the foam off. I want to be sure I don't tear the foam too much. I want to keep it as close to that foam tape I used as possible. Don't want to lose that little screw. So I'm going to desolder this cable real quick. I'm not going to be reusing it or saving it. So alright, we're done with that. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to take this block out so I have a little space to work. Again, I'm going to try not to rip that foam when I'm taking it apart. I'm going to reuse it when I'm done. Take my cable. Pick a side. I don't know how well you can see it, but each side has a brass colored wire and then a colored wire, red or green. The gold or brass colored wire is your common ground. The other one is your signal. I'm just going to pick a side. I'm going to put on my strain relief here. Before I get too far into it and forget, I'm going to go ahead and clean these cups with a little bit of alcohol. Because here in a little bit, I'm going to be adding a little bit of glue to it. So I got that. Alright. That should dry out while I'm working. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this screw. And you'll see why here in a minute. Alright, set those aside. So what I'm going to do, feed that cable up through this opening. And then I'm going to put a loop in it that I'm going to use here in a minute. set that aside for a second. So when I bought the strain relief, I actually bought a pack of 10 because it was the same cost as buying 2. And I'm going to use one of these, not for its intended purpose though. So I'm going to cut this part off. Doesn't have to be pretty, nobody's going to see this part. So one of the problems I had last time was figuring out how to keep this screw in that opening without having to use glue or some other kind of adhesive, because I can't find a nut small enough to fit this. I looked at my hardware store, I took it, I tried to fit it. I'm not going to special order a screw, or I'm not going to special order a nut for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to use that to hold the screw into place. This screw won't be exposed to a whole lot of strain. This point I'm keeping it on there mostly for cosmetic reasons because I don't want that just open. So that's there. That's in place now. Oops, I fed the wrong cable through that opening. So, try this again. Alright, so I have the cable there. I'll put my loop back. Now I'm going to take that screw that I took out, along with the nut and washer. This strain relief fits very well, but I don't think it fits well enough that if these got snagged on anything to prevent it from just popping out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the screw that's already here anyway as a way to secure the cable. So I'm going to take that screw, put it in there, I'm going to put that loop over the screw. Now this nut and washer in itself is not big enough to hold that loop into place. So I've got a piece of fairly stiff plastic, came off some candy container, but it's thick. It's just flexible enough I could cut it easily with my knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that down over that screw. So that will prevent that cable from coming off the screw. And then just to make sure everything's secured, put the nut and washer back on it. So that's done. I'm going to do my electrical connections real quick before I forget. These have a marking indicating positive and negative. I'm just going to follow those so that I'm consistent on both sides. One thing I really like about these, when I got them, they were already 10, so I don't have to fight with them too much to get them to stick to the solder. I'm just going to connect to what's already there. Turn my tip real quick. You know what? I'm going to use those interconnections. Look at that. Did it without melting the plastic. The reason I cleaned off that with alcohol is, again, that strain relief fits pretty snugly, but just to be, I guess, a little bit more secure, I'm going to use just a drop of super glue on it. Now I know I'm gluing rubber to plastic, and even though super glue says it will hold, I've found that it's not very dependable, but it's better than nothing. So I'm just going to put a drop of it right there. Alright, I'm going to leave that alone. Alright, so I've got my strain relief. I've got my loop to secure it. I think that gives me more than enough line. So I'm going to take my foam block. Oh, nope, not yet. I'm going to tighten this down. Not so much that I would damage the cable, but enough so that this doesn't move around or that nut doesn't fall off. So, alright, that feels snug, not overly tight. I'm going to push my foam block back down. Set my driver back up there. Alright, don't want that to hit that screw and short out, so I'm going to twist it a little bit. Alright, then we'll replace my ear cup. Or the cover to the ear cup. And that foam does a great job of keeping that driver stable. It doesn't spin when I put the ear cup on. Alright, so you can see that gives it a much better look. I'm going to test the sound. I'm going to make sure the connection is stable or solid, that there's nothing shorting out. And then I will be back to do the ear pads. One thing I do want to note, when I go to do the other side, I want to be sure I put that strain relief on the opposite side. That way it's just purely for me, it is the same on both sides. I'll have to find some way to mark left from right, but I'll deal with that later. And I'm back. Alright, sounds great. Now, one of the problems I have is this is very, very slick, and this is very, very slick. So it will fit on there with a little bit of work. Let me speed this up for you so you don't have to watch me struggle with it. So you can see it actually fits quite well. The problem is there's nothing holding it there. It is just barely on there. I've got some double-sided adhesive. It's a little bit thinner than that foam tape I used inside the cups. This is also black, so if you do see it, it is not going to be just blatantly, glaringly there. It'll be a little bit more subtle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place it just 4 points for now. I may have to go back and add more, but for the moment I'm just going to put 4 points opposite of each other so that it will hold this in place a little bit better. Take that top plastic off. Alright, I'm going to do this without the whole cup sliding off. Put it about there. That foam back off, or the back off that foam. Lift that up over it. Just press it down. Now, that feels much more secure. I'm going to do the other three real quick. All right. Those are roughly spaced equally apart from each other. What's really neat about doing like that is if I need to screw the cap off, I don't have to take the padding off now. Okay, that's it. I'm going to do the other side real quick, then I will come back and show you the finished product. Alright, I got the other side done, so you can see have the foam pads on the for the ear cups. The cable's in there. I'm going to take the headbands. I'm going to reassemble them. And there we go. For now, they're done. I may get some idea. I want to try something else later, but I think they're ready to go.